Hey traders, John Fortune here of this week's Weekly Forex Forecast for the 18th of March to the 22nd of March 2019. As always, we're going to start off with the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of markets, looking at the key levels of support and resistance in the process. We're also going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're going to be looking for in the coming week and also in the weeks ahead. So without further ado, let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. As always, starting with the US dollar index. Now just a quick note. The targets that we're looking at will, of course, still be labelled, and we will be looking at these as we go through the videos, but they may not necessarily appear in green any longer. The reason for this is because we've colour coordinated all of these levels for our members, so they know exactly what these levels represent and why they're there. So when we go through the video, you may see that the targets are no longer in green, but we will still be labelling them, as I said, and we will be identifying them throughout the video as well, so they should still be very, very clear to everybody. So with that said, in terms of the US dollar index, now the interesting thing about the US dollar index is we are currently still trending to the upside in the US dollar index, but we are at a key area of resistance. If we scroll out just a little bit here, you can see that we have this, for those of you who like your waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up into the resistance area. Very often 5 waves up into a resistance area or a significant resistance area can be an indication of a bigger decline to the downside. However, we do know a couple of things about these waves. One of them is that impulse waves like this do not have to develop in 5. It can also be 9, 13, etc. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this is completely finished. And we also know that it's not a scientific method. So the market generally can actually do whatever it wants to do. So although we have this and we have to take this as an indication that there could be a bigger reversal coming in the markets, we also have to look at the current structure, and we can see that we are currently still structured to the upside in the US dollar index. This is the previous wave to the upside. So very simply put, any pullback into this area, we are viewing this as an opportunity to look for further advances in the dollar index. As long as we remain above the 95.82, especially, this trend will stay intact, and we're going to be looking at potential bullish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bullish formations and patterns in this area, preferably if we can come back and retest broken resistance turning support at 96.30, this is going to be a great place to look for those bullish setups. And if we get those bullish setups in this area, we're going to be looking at further advances in the US dollar index up towards the next key area resistance to the upside, and the target set at the 97.69. So the next market we're going to look at is crude oil. Now we had a really nice rally from the previous support area highlighted in previous videos, and we have made our way towards the target. We haven't quite achieved it yet, but we come very close at the 59.29. Very simply put, going into this week, if we can get, before we take out the target, one more pullback, preferably if we can get a retest of broken resistance turning support at 56.42, as this will give us better risk to reward. If we can get a pullback, and preferably if we can retest broken resistance turning support, this is going to be an area we're going to once again look for bullish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bullish setups in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the target highlighted in previous videos, the 59.29. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area resistance to the upside in target 2 at the 62.70. Next market we're going to look at is euro dollar. Now we had a rally from the support area last week at the 1.11780, and we traded into key resistance, broken support, turning resistance to the 1.13270. We actually held this last week. So very simply put, especially as although we're at resistance in the dollar index, we are still structured to the upside. There hasn't been any major reversal in the dollar index just yet. We are going to be looking at an opportunity in this area for bearish formations and patterns. And if we can get the right kind of bearish setups in this area, and it is important to have tradable patterns in this area just so it doesn't break through and start to trend up towards the 1.14190. But if we can get those bearish setups in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts back down to the previous support area and the target set at the 1.1178. So the next market you're going to look at is pound dollar. Now we are trading into a key area of resistance in the pound dollar we looked at last week. We are still trending to the upside in the pound dollar. However, it does look like this is an area we could start to see a decline in the pound dollar. So very simply put, if we can get one more retest of resistance at 1.3350, this is going to be an area we're going to start to look for bearish setups. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts back down to the key area of support and the target set at the 1.3056. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1.2960. The next market we're going to look at is US dollar Japanese yen. Now, we had a nice bounce from the key area of support highlighted in the previous video at the 110.96, and we are making our way up towards the target set at the 112.230. So very simply put, if we can get a completion of this move from the 110.96 into the 112.230 as highlighted in the previous video, this is going to be an area at the 112.230. We're going to start to see if we can get a rejection. We're going to start to see if we can get bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish setups in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts back down to the key area of support at the 110.960. So the next market we're going to look at is Aussie dollar. Now, we start the week below a key area of broken support from the past, looking to turn resistance at the 0.7099. If we can get a retest of broken support, turning resistance at the 0.7099, this is going to be an area in the Aussie dollar we're going to start to look for bearish setups. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 0.7021. So the next market we're going to look at is New Zealand dollar. Now, we had this rally from the key area of support highlighted in previous videos at 0.67580. We were actually looking for a slightly higher target at 0.6893. However, it does now look going into next week, especially if we are going to start to get a reversal to the upside in the dollar index, if we're going to get a continuation of that near-term uptrend. It does look like we could actually be reversing at the 68.72. Again, if I scroll out a little bit here, you can see that the reason this has been revised down slightly is because we are actually starting to coil in the New Zealand dollar. And you guys know I don't generally speaking use trend lines because they can be very much more subjective than horizontal support and resistance. However, if we just draw this on here, we can't ignore the fact that this is starting to go into a bigger coiling pattern in the New Zealand dollar. So very simply put, going into next week, if we can get one more test would be good. If we come up and retest the top of this downward sloping trend line as well. If we get a test of the 0.6872, this is going to be an area in the New Zealand dollar we're going to start to look for bearish setups. And again, we'll be keeping our eye, as we always do, on the dollar index, looking for that push to the upside in the dollar index. But if we can get that push to the upside in the dollar index and we can get a retest of 0.6872, this is going to be an area we're going to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the 0.6758. So the next market we're going to look at is the US dollar Swiss franc. Now, we are still structured to the upside in the US dollar Swiss franc. We are still trending to the upside in any correction here. We are still viewing this as a potential opportunity for further advances in the US dollar Swiss franc. We are currently sitting right at a key area of broken resistance turning support, which we highlighted in last week's video. So as we've traded into the 1.0020 and we're actually holding this area, this is an area we can start to, for example, caps trendline this, and we're going to start to see if we can get bullish setups in this area. And if we get the right kind of bullish setups in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance and the target set, the 1.01280. So the next market we're going to look at is US dollar CAD. Now, the US dollar CAD is still structured to the upside. It is trending to the upside, and we are looking for further advances in the US dollar CAD. We have pulled back to the key area of broken resistance, turning support highlighted in last week's video at the 1.33060. As it stands going into this week, this is a place we're going to start to look for further advances in the US dollar CAD. And if we can get the right kind of bullish setups, bullish formations and patterns forming in this area, tradable setups, we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and the target set at the 1.3467. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 2 at the 1.3564. And last but not least, we have gold. Now, ever since we had that rally from the key area of support highlighted in previous videos at the 1284.10, we have started to make our way towards the target set at the 1320.67. It is a fair distance, so it's something which is not going to be done straight away. However, with the US dollar index still trending to the upside, and with this current bull flag formation and pattern forming in the US dollar index, as we looked at the beginning of the video, we are still liable for one final push up, or potentially two, depending on the wave count in the US dollar index, into resistance. If that is the case, there's a very good chance we could see this week gold coming back down to retest broken resistance, turning support at the 1288.70. If we get this pullback into the 1288.70, this is going to be an area for anybody not already involved from the 1284.10. This is going to be an area we can start once again in gold to look for bullish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bullish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area resistance to the upside in the target set, the 1320.67. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to everybody who does that on a regular basis, and a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel so far. I want to wish you all a nice weekend. I hope you all have a profitable week next week. The only thing left to say is take care, and don't forget to trade safely.